All Three Beards Media podcasts originate from the Gravitate Co-working Studio, sponsored by Revelton Distilling Company.
Good evening and welcome everyone to episode 18 of Hawk's Eye View. I'm Andrew Barber here with Drew Shipley. Good to be back for another week. And we're coming up on Christmas time. This year is just flying by, man. We're already past the regular season and the start of the postseason. We're on to bowl season, man. This is just flying right on by.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, bowl season.
Wild.
Let's go. We're part of the shenanigans as Iowa Hawkeyes, so that's good.
I mean, let me ask you right off the bat, Andrew, like how excited from like 1 to 10 are you about a Citrus Bowl matchup against Tennessee? Because like I could take it or leave it, honestly.
Yeah, I'd say I'm about a 6.
Okay.
Like not super excited, but hey, it's better than not being in a bowl game.
I really look forward to the Ole Miss matchup personally. I wanted to see Kirk Ferentz make Lane Kiffin cry. That's what I really wanted to do.
Well, I mean, that got ruined by Florida State getting left out, really. That impacted everything downstream. Because I think a lot of Bulls didn't think that Florida State would be there. And therefore it would have shifted some of the matchups a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, either way, an SEC team was making it, right? Like, yeah. Just because they wouldn't, like, you know, like they wouldn't.
Yeah. So that's a good segue into the offseason for the Iowa Hawkeye football team. 10-3 year, possible 11-3, depends on the bowl game outcome, possible 10-4. But really, we kind of alluded to this, and we've talked about it a little bit, but there's a lot of guys that have decisions about staying or going. I saw the news a little bit ago that Y.A. Black has decided to stay and remain in Iowa for another year. That's huge news. Few guys have transferred out. Ontario Thompson, Jackson Filer, Deontay Vines is probably the most notable, I think, that people would know because he started at wide receiver. Brendan Dees Fernandez, backup defensive back. Other than that, not really anyone notable leaving at this point. They still have until January 3 to make those kinds of decisions. But what I wanted to start with was the guys who are gonna stay or go, break down each one. I think some of these can be a quick conversation. Some of these are probably a more lengthy conversation. So I think this is the perfect time to talk about it because we're going to hear a lot of guys announcing their intentions over the next probably 2 weeks or so.
Let's not forget Joey Labus. I think that goes without saying, though.
Oh yeah, Joey Labus. Probably one of the least surprising transfer announcements that I've ever heard. So
it's unfortunate. I still don't think that that Kirk Ferentz and the staff can evaluate the quarterback position. I think that's the bigger problem. It's not I don't think it's the development piece of it. I think they're not selecting or recruiting the right people for his outdated system. Like it's just not the right. It's never the right fit unless we're going to change the offense down the road.
Right. Oh, Spencer Petras also headed to Utah State. So
Good for him.
We can mention that one. Maybe we can get Jason Turner back on to talk about Utah State football and Spencer Petras, who I assume will be their starter if he's only a 1-year guy.
It will not be Cooper Laga.
Probably not.
That is his name, right? I got it right.
Yeah, Cooper Lagat. Hey, they're in a bowl game.
Are they really?
They're 6-6. They're in a bowl game actually, and they're probably going to win their bowl game, most likely. So, all right. Let's start at the top with guys that could stay or go. Start with an easy one. I think we both know where this guy's headed. There is some speculation this guy could return. It would shock me. Cooper DeJean, staying or going?
Do we want to say Saturdays or Sundays? We can go like that. Saturdays, Sundays. I'm going to go Sundays.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice. I like Sundays. It. Yeah, I'm going Sundays as well. Even if he wanted to come back, I think the staff would talk him into Sundays. So Sundays for Cooper DeJean.
Yep.
Let's go down the list here. Eric All.
Saturdays. I think he wants to run it back one more time with Cade McNamara.
I think he's bound for Sundays. I think he's had enough of college football. I think he kind of said before he came, this was sort of his last ride. I know that the injury happened. I think he kind of sticks to that. And so I think Eric All is headed for Sundays.
Okay.
Luke Lachey. I'll start here and I'll say Saturdays. I think it's kind of 50-50. I think Luke Lachey is going to run it back one more time to improve his draft stock, and I'll go Saturdays for Luke Lachey.
Let me give you the reason for Sundays, Andrew, and I think it's because they selected him as the team captain for the Big Ten championship game.
Okay.
Like, why else would they have Luke Lachey as a captain in a game he's not playing in?
Yeah, they did that with Cade, though. Hadn't Luke Lachey been a captain for the whole season?
Yeah.
So, I don't know if he's proved enough. We know how good Luke Lachey is. I don't know if the scouts know. I don't know if that injury, might hold him back a little bit.
I don't know, man. I think Luke Lachey might have more tape than Eric All at this point. Doesn't he? Did he? I mean, what was it? What was the stat line like at Michigan? Like, he wasn't even the starter there either, was he?
He was getting draft buzz at Michigan, so he was a known commodity at Michigan.
Well, who's not getting draft buzz at Michigan, Andrew? You know,
that's true. That's true. I think age with Eric All might play a factor as well.
Okay. All right.
You know, the older you get, I don't know how old Eric All is, but he also does have a kid, I believe.
Oh.
So there's some other. That's one thing that people don't think about is there's other factors that these guys have. Their background. Some of them have kids, like we've talked about. Like, you know, young men make different decisions in life, and so that could play a factor there. So
you might be right. That's a great point, Andrew. He is 23 years old.
Yeah,
I'm still gonna stick to my guns just to be against you, though.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Let's go back to the defense. And Jamari Harris has a decision about whether he can stay or go.
I'm going to say Saturdays, Andrew. I think he needs another year of development in Phil Parker's defense.
Yeah, I'm going to say Saturdays as well, because he's very likely, if Cooper DeJean goes Sundays, like we just said, he's going to be the top corner for the Iowa defense for an entire season. And that's a pretty good thing to put out there on tape if you're the top corner. And another year of learning from the best assistant coach in college football, Phil Parker, can't hurt. So I'm going to align right with you and say Saturdays.
Yep.
All right. Next guy we got to talk about defensive backfield as well is Sebastian Castro.
Just for the fact that he didn't even make an all Big Ten selection at any level, I I think the right decision is to come back and play Saturdays, but I think he's talented enough to be on Sundays.
Mhm.
I'll say Saturdays. I'll lock it in. Saturdays.
I'm going to swing the other way. I'm going to go Sundays on Sebastian Castro for a lot of the same reasons that I went Sundays on Eric All. He's 23 right now. He came from a background where he had limited resources, so that plays a factor. It's kind of like the decision that we saw Geno Stone make. Geno Stone went to the NFL, and we thought maybe he should have come back for another year and played one more year. And also, I just want to make this point. The cash position at Iowa, it's almost becoming as automatic of a you should draft that guy as an Iowa tight end, because it started really with Amani Hooker and then Geno Stone and then Dane Belton. And now you've got Cooper DeJean played there for a little bit. And now Castro looks every bit the part of an NFL safety as well at that spot. So I think Castro should go Sundays, and I don't think teams should be hesitant to draft him because he's going to perform.
I mean, yeah, that position has a great history of people playing on Sundays. I think everybody you mentioned that have graduated has played on Sundays, including Dame Belton, right? Like he's on a roster. Geno
Dane Belton
Stones
starts.
Yeah, Geno
They all
Stones.
start.
Yeah, Geno Stone's kicking ass out here in Baltimore. Yeah, I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
It is the most versatile position in the defense. There's no doubt about it. You can move. You can have him be a strong safety. You can have him be an outside linebacker. You know, it depends on what you need, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that's great.
A lot of those guys are making it in the league as safeties. I think they kind of, trim down and go to that safety role and really light it up. So, the other guy is Quinn Schulte. He has a decision to make as well. He can get another year if he wants it.
That's kind of like it. That's an undrafted free agent kind of guy for me right now, Andrew. Like if he went to Sundays, I don't know if I necessarily see him being drafted. And for that reason, I'll say Saturdays.
I like it. I'll go with you and say Saturdays as well. I think he's going to want to run it back. I think, like you said, maybe an undrafted type could make it in the NFL. Could see him having staying power as an undrafted free agent for sure. One more year can't hurt. So I'm just working down the defense now. So
that's fair.
I want to say Nick Jackson. I heard actually that he can apply for a waiver if he wants to. I don't know if he will. I know he's so his decision is let's go Nick Jackson.
Sundays.
Yeah, I think Sundays as well.
Probably a day 2 guy. Second, third, fourth round.
Hope so. Anyways, he's loved his time as a Hawk. I don't know if you've heard him talk about his time as a Hawk, but he said he wants his kids to be Hawks, and he's only been here for 1 year.
That's that's pretty high praise. And you know what? Kirk Ferentz has pretty high praise for him for a guy that didn't really embrace the transfer portal right off the jump, right? Like he talks about Nick Jackson a lot like his legacy Hawks, like people that have been there 3-4 years. You know,
right.
Has a lot of reverence, a lot of respect from Kirk Ferentz. So it's interesting to hear that kind of dynamic coming from a guy in the portal, right? So much deserved. I'm rolling with Sundays.
I'm gonna say Sundays with the caveat that he does apply for his waiver. I don't know if the NCAA allows it, and I think the NCAA's decision about that will sort of force his hand. So
well, fuck Andrew. They probably won't even tell him till fucking June, after 2 months after the draft. So I mean,
yeah,
bunch of freaking idiots.
Okay, well, selfishly, I hope he applies for his waiver, gets it, comes back, and then this other guy that we're going to talk about here another first-year starter, but he's played out of his mind. Jay Higgins.
Sundays.
Yeah, I think he's got to go Sundays too. 155 tackles on the year. He's probably a day 2 guy himself. Yeah, sucks to be losing both of our linebackers probably to the NFL draft, but they're both that good. And that is probably going to be an area where I think I was going to have to look at the portal for a linebacker that can come in right away, kind of like they did with Jackson. They're going to have to grab at least one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the year. What we have all 3 of our linebackers drafted the one year. Was that the James Morris year?
Kirksey, Hitchens, James Morris. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me a lot of that. If you were to include the cash position, I guess too.
Yeah. And then didn't we just backfill with some dude named Josie Jewell?
Yeah, he sucked. So
yeah, he wasn't even good. I'm sorry, Josie, if you're listening to this.
I'm sure he is. Hey, go ahead and light us up here in the comments, Josie. I'm sure.
Yeah,
you'd like to see that.
Listen, this is such a good podcast that Josie Jewell probably takes time out of his busy schedule to listen to Hawks Eye View.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's not jack shit to do in Denver anyway. So, I mean,
no.
What could he possibly be doing at 4:16 Mountain Time?
I have no clue. Listening to Hawks Eye View live on Facebook.
That's right.
All right. I was going to bring up Y.A. Black, but I already spilled the beans there. He decided to come back. Joe Evans is out of eligibility. Just racking my brain right now. Is there anyone else on the D line that could make a decision? Graves, Craig? I don't know if Graves or Craig are really in that conversation. I think they're back.
I think they're both back as well. Yeah, I mean, they don't have enough stock or tape yet. No, especially Graves. He's still he's a true sophomore.
Yeah, I think this is his true sophomore year. I don't even think he's eligible. Is he eligible?
No, he wouldn't be.
Mm-mm. Yeah. Okay. So then both those guys are back. The only other guys I can name off offensive lineman guys, I think they possibly Mason Richmond, Connor Colby, Logan Jones. Those 3, you think? Oh, Nick DeYoung does have another year of eligibility. Do you think he stays or goes? Those are the 4 guys I'm thinking of on offense that we haven't mentioned.
I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, Andrew, but this is quite possibly Kirk Ferentz's worst offensive line in his entire tenure.
No, that was last year. These guys are slightly better than
they're slightly better because they're 1 year older.
They were slightly better than last year. I'll give them that. They were slightly better.
I don't know. Didn't we talk on this podcast about was it Nick DeYoung had a Pro Football Focus score of like 4 in one game?
Sure.
The Penn State game. Yeah, Pro Football Focus score of 4. I think might have been the lowest of all Power 5 linemen.
Yeah, it was not good.
Okay, so the caveat of last season's offensive line being the worst ever, I don't see any of these offensive linemen being Sunday worthy at all. Practice squad at best.
Okay. All right. Well, that does it then.
Oh, so you agree?
No, not that I necessarily agree. I think Richmond, Colby, to a lesser extent Jones, will probably get some looks. I think Dejon Parker, the D2 transfer that didn't play but was plagued by injuries, has a chance to come back next year. That could be good if he could learn the right tackle role and take over that. That might be good. Rusty Feth was a 1-year transfer rental. He's out of eligibility. He was okay. Just trying to flush out who's staying, who's going. So I think, most if there's really a chance, Drew, that everybody but Cooper DeJean could come back for this team. And that would impact the defense.
I was going to say, I don't
significantly.
even know if that's good or bad, Andrew. I don't even know.
It's good. It's good for in the case of the defense. If we get Castro, Higgins, and Jackson back,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Harris, Schulte, we've already got YA Black, so basically the same defensive line minus Joe Evans. But someone's going to emerge because you can trust Kelvin Bell, you can trust Phil Parker, you can trust Seth Wallace. So I'm not even worried. Even if we do lose Higgins and Jackson, we'll just plug and play someone who's ready on the two deeps. That being said, I think it's going to be a pretty good year next year. It's setting up to be a good year again next year, I think. Offensive coordinator, I don't know if I'm really breaking any news here. I don't want to step on any toes here. But I told you earlier today that I think it's probably going to be Paul Chryst is the name.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of chatter about it, like you said, and maybe it's why there hasn't been a lot of publicity about it, about their search in general, right? Like, the regular season is over. They should be looking for their next offensive coordinator now, whatever that name is. Obviously, Ryan Grubb's not happening. That's going to be a head coaching candidate somewhere else. Has nothing to gain from that. He's already making $2 million in a team that's already in the college football playoff in one of the most beautiful places to play college football. Like, he has no reason to leave for anything other than a head coaching gig. So, I mean, that being said, I think they already have Paul Chryst in waiting, because I mean, they're not. No offense to Paul Chryst, but he's not getting another Power 5 job, head coaching job, anytime soon. So, I mean, I'm sure there's an agreement in place already. Going to let Brian's swan song in the bowl game, where we'll put up 3 points against Tennessee, and we can move on with our lives to college basketball.
All right. Well, you certainly have a more pessimistic view of the world than I do.
Did you watch the Big Ten championship game? Did you watch that offense?
Yeah, I did. I did watch it. However, we can talk about this when we preview the bowl game a lot more.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think Tennessee is going to have a lot of opt-outs, a lot of some portal defections, some opt-outs that are going to really significantly impact them. And I don't think Iowa is going to have the opt-outs that Tennessee does. So it's going to be a lot like the game against Kentucky last year, where Iowa's taking it seriously and their opponent is not. So, but anyways, that's a conversation for another day. I just wanted to talk Paul Chryst for a moment.
Yeah.
He has engineered a lot of decent offenses, even some great offenses in his day. I went looking through his time as offensive coordinator from 2005 to 2011. He was the offensive coordinator at Wisconsin. 2010, they averaged 40.1 points per game. 2011, that was the year they got Russell Wilson in as their quarterback, 44.1 points per game. Then he went to Pittsburgh as the head coach from 2012 to 2014. Had a running back named James Conner and a receiver named Tyler Boyd there, and authored 3 30-point per game years in a row. Pittsburgh came back to Wisconsin in 2015, and then was there until not this season, but the season before was when he got fired. So 2015 to 2022. His worst year on offense as a offensive coordinator / head coach from 2005 on was 25.1 points per game. His worst offense. His best being that 2011 44.1. A lot of the rest of his teams falling probably somewhere in between 27 to like 32 points per game. A lot of his teams. I'm totally cool with that. And I think Kirk Ferentz has a lot of respect for Paul Chryst. I've heard him talk about Paul Chryst. I've heard Paul Chryst talk about Kirk Ferentz. There's a lot of mutual respect there. And I think that's the biggest thing with this hire is if it is Paul Chryst, Kirk Ferentz has enough respect for him to let him do his own thing without much interference.
Yeah, Andrew. Back in that day when it was Paul Chryst versus Kirk Ferentz, Battle of the Heartland Trophy. Anybody that's watched that football game year in, year out was basically mirror images of the same team, right? Smash mouth football, running the football, good defense. Just in generally speaking, right? This team has not been able to run the ball in a couple of years, which gives me a lot of hope that Paul Chryst can come back and restore that type of dynamic for the Iowa offense. I mean, my God, the names that Paul Chryst got in there: Jonathan Taylor, Melvin Gordon, Monty Ball,
James White.
James White. I mean, Jesus, like 1,500-yard rushers year in, year out.
Braylon Allen more recently.
Yeah, there you go. This year, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be hopeful for to reestablish who we are, especially in the running game, because, man, like, so inconsistent the last 2 years. Not utilizing the personnel, like I said in the beginning of this season, and I felt that way last year too, of we're banging our little guys there in between the tackles, and we're not getting the people with speed out in space. Like, we're using the wrong tool,
Yeah.
for the wrong play. So hopefully we can fix that in personnel and play calling in general. Just using the right people, man. That's a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about it. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be hopeful for to get Iowa back to that running identity defense that it needs to have an effective play action passing game, an effective passing game at all, really. But I mean, any team that played us knew damn well we couldn't throw the football. Like, so we're gonna put 11 in the box.
And that was the difference a lot of time in those Iowa-Wisconsin matchups. Paul Chryst got the better of Kirk Ferentz a lot of times, with a few notable exceptions, like 2009, the year with Ricky Stanzi in the Orange Bowl, 2015, the 12-0 season, 2022, 2020. Those are like the 4 times that I can count during the Paul Chryst, basically the Paul Chryst era at Wisconsin from 2005 on, with the exception of the 3 years he was in Pittsburgh,
Right.
where Iowa beat Wisconsin. And really, yeah, they pounded us. They pounded the Iowa defense, but they could throw when the time came for it. And they did that against every team that they played. So
yeah.
I feel really good about this because he runs offense in a way that Kirk Ferentz is comfortable with. It's not anything that's going to be like a huge deviation from Kirk Ferentz's overall philosophy, and it's going to be more effective.
For sure, no doubt.
All right, Jason, do you think if Paul is chosen, can do something to the 3 backs that are there right now, since all 3 are talking about coming back? Yeah. So, like kind of what Drew said, I agree with you, is he got the most out of his talent. He's going to look at that talent in that running back room and say, okay, that's the strength of my team. I've got Caleb Johnson, who's good on the edges. I've got Jazz Patterson, who has some power, but is also a little bit undersized. I've got LaShawn Williams, who can run in between the tackles. I've got 3 backs that I feel really good about, and I'm going to find creative ways to get them the ball, or Lachey and All come back. Or even if one of Lachey or All come back, I've got Lachey and Ostrenga, or I've got All and Ostrenga and Ortworth to a lesser extent. I've got good tight ends. I'm going to find a way to exploit that. And so I think Paul Chryst can do exactly that, Jason. I think he can definitely get the most out of the running backs and the tight ends, and that's going to be the strength of the team again next year. Caleb Brown is also going to be a strength as well. We saw him come on late. I think Paul Chryst is going to look at Caleb Brown and say, yeah, I need to find a way to get this guy the ball more often, scheme him open. If I scheme him open, we're going to score a lot of points.
For sure.
So, yeah. Drew, anything to add?
No, I mean, Jason's got a point, right? Different sets, different looks. We do have the talent at the running back position. I remember when the term Kirk 2.0 first came about, right, in 2015 season, and we were running the 3 tight end sets. Like I can't remember what they called it, what the term was for it, but we ran all 3 tight ends there: Henry, Krieger, Coble, George Kittle, and Hawkinson. Right? Was that the 3, or was it Noah Fant?
Might have been Noah.
Either way, right? 3 of the 4. I know Krieger Coble was one of them for sure. But anyway,
yes.
Those 3 tight end sets, man, really stressed it on the seams in the passing game. That they just couldn't match up physically. You know, an undersized safety with somebody 6'6", 6'7" coming at you all the time, whether it's Fant or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, being more creative, using the right pieces, Jason. Yes, you're absolutely right. I think Paul Christ will be able to identify that in camp next year. If he comes, it's not a done deal by any means. It is speculation at this point, but yeah.
True. It is all speculation. We could go some other direction. So, all right, we will leave it there. It is time to hear from our wonderful sponsors at Revelton and Gravitate.
Why take the best corn in the world and make it into fuel when you could make it into whiskey? That's the question that launched Revelton, Iowa's most visible and fastest growing distillery. Owners Rob and Christy Taylor embrace the grain-to-glass philosophy, sourcing ingredients locally and overseeing on-premises production and bottling at their facility in Osceola. One sip, and you'll agree that Revelton's handcrafted whiskeys, gins, and vodkas are the best you've ever tasted. And with the launch of their rye whiskey, made with 100% Iowa-grown rye and corn, and their new bourbon coming soon, there's more Revelton to love than ever. Iowa's own Revelton Distillery. ReveltonDistillery.com. The great thing about working from home is working from home. The worst thing is working from home, especially for face-to-face collaborations with customers and coworkers. And let's face it, coffee shop meetings are neither private nor professional. So skip the trip to Starbs and investigate Gravitate Co-working Space. For more than 10 years, Gravitate has provided large and small office and conference spaces perfect for hosting meetings, workshops, or other events, as well as private phone booths for confidential conversations. Plus, all spaces include secure fiber internet, free coffee, and access to a kitchenette. All you need is your laptop. Gravitate does the rest. And renting space at Gravitate is surprisingly affordable. An hour of office space costs about the same as venti caramel macchiatos and breakfast sandwiches for 2. Daily and monthly rates are also available with no long-term commitment. Learn more at gravitatecoworking.com. That's gravitatecoworking.com.
Are you in the market for a new house and unsure of the mortgage process? Want to know that you have someone looking out for you? Kyle Lehman from Wintrust Mortgage is a down-to-earth, knowledgeable lender who can be there for you in your corner. He can work with you in any of the 50 states and is just what you need to expand your home search. Kyle will work with you through the entire process with little to no work from you. Take the worry of the mortgage process out of the equation so that you can focus on looking for your dream home. Contact Kyle at www.wintrust.com/Kyle-Lehman or call him at 515-473-0546.
All right, welcome back. Thank you, as always, to all of our wonderful sponsors. And it is CyHawk Basketball Week. We've got a CyHawk Basketball game tonight. The number 4 Iowa women take on the unranked Iowa State Cyclones in Hilton and Ames. Iowa is a 12.5-point favorite, and we were talking a little bit before. You think that's too much, and I'm of the persuasion that it's not enough. Big news for Iowa. Hannah Stolke is back in the lineup and ready to go. Also, one other storyline that's been covered here is Caitlin Clark is 22 points away from reaching 3,000 points in her career. Does she get it tonight, Drew?
100%. Like, there's no question about that. Like, when's the last time she scored under 22?
That might be something to look up because I can't honestly remember the last time she's been under 20. We'll say like
her
her freshman year.
Her worst game that I can remember, like right off the top of my head, was when she came out here to play Maryland last year. Maryland smoked Iowa, and I think she still scored 27, 28. Like,
that's her worst game that you can remember.
Yes.
I'm going to go back to her freshman year. I'm going to say we'll look that up. We'll look that up and get back to you guys.
Can we get our research team on that? Can we get that?
Yeah, we need our own ESPN stats and information team for this podcast. That might have been something to look up before the podcast. We're just saying it's been a long time. Iowa State is in complete rebuild mode with their women's basketball program. They have Audie Crooks, the true freshman from Algona. She's 6'3". She averages 16 points and like 6 rebounds per game. Plays about 20 minutes per game as well. Emily Ryan is one of the big parts of Iowa State women's team, and she's out with an injury. And then we know everybody that left. Ashley Jones graduated. Stephanie Suarez.
Yeah,
Suarez, and then someone else transferred out. I can't remember the name off. Lexi Donarski. Donarski transferred out. And Emily Ryan is dealing with an injury. So that's essentially every key player from last year's Iowa State women's team. I guess Kelsey Jones, Ashley Jones's little sister, plays as a starter as well. I understand this is a rivalry, but man, Drew, I just don't see it. I mean, this Iowa State team lost to Drake by 12, and Iowa absolutely smoked Drake off the court. I don't see any reason why Iowa shouldn't run away with this one.
Yeah, so typically in the women's game in general, Andrew, there's less parity in things like this, which would kind of lean towards your point of clearly Iowa's the best team between the two. They are clearly the most talented, clearly the most experienced. Final Four or bust, right? I'm not saying that they don't win because they are going to win.
Right.
I'm just saying 12.5 in Hilton is a little high. Is a little high. If it was Carver Hawkeye, it would 20, no problem.
Yeah.
No problem. I think the game might be close going into the half, and Iowa pulls away.
Okay.
Early fourth quarter, wins by 11 or 12. It's going to be 11 or 12 because those smart guys at Vegas know, and that's why they set that number there. You know, they're not stupid. They know
it was 7.5 when it opened up, and it's been up to 12.5.
That's wild.
That is a wild swing. But a lot of people are just jumping on the Iowa train. So yeah, that's I guess I don't have a lot else to say about the women's basketball preview. For being honest, I think the men's game is going to be a little bit more intrigue. I think we don't really know what we have in either one of the teams. I will get to your Hawk Talk clip in a minute here, but I want to talk about the game a little bit before we get to that Hawk Talk clip.
Yeah.
Iowa State, their record is, I believe, 6-2 coming into this game, but all 6 of those wins are against totally inferior competition. Like it's comical. Really, their schedule they've put together, and that's why their record is what it is. Their 2 losses are to a Virginia Tech team that I don't think is very good. Going to be middle to bottom of the ACC. And a loss to Texas A&M, which looks like a good loss on paper, but if you watched that game or paid any attention to it, Texas A&M was missing 2 of their 3 top scorers, and also Iowa State held like a 20-point lead at one point and blew it with 2 of their 3 top players out. Now Texas A&M, decent team. Buzz Williams, good coach, But man, you expect Iowa State with their defense to be able to hang on to that lead. I don't think the defense is there like it was. The offense certainly isn't as good as it was last year, and it wasn't great. So that's what I see from this Iowa State team. Conversely, with Iowa, the concern there is rebounding. We've seen it quite a few times this year. Defensive rebounding is a massive concern. Also, the offense has looked out of sync at times.
Yeah.
Which is not something that you can have with a Fran McCaffrey team, because we know about the struggles on defense and with rebounding. So, your thoughts before we get to your clip?
Yeah. What did Iowa put up in the first half Monday night? 21, 23?
24?
Bad.
Yeah, but Mackey is a house of horrors. It is a house of horrors.
I get that. But like, I don't know. The team is still young, right? For the most part, they got to learn how to win. They still need to learn what rotations are going to work for these young guys. Owen Freeman, yeah. I don't know. I didn't take anything positive away from Monday night, honestly. And going into Hilton again tomorrow, back to back, right? So,
right.
I'll be honest, I don't know anything about this Iowa State team. I know Taman Lipsey is being spoken very highly of from Fran McCaffrey, better than he was last year, and he was pretty damn good last year. I have no idea even what to expect tomorrow night. I wouldn't be surprised if either team blew each other out.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, as I don't know what to expect at all.
I mean, when we saw their effort at Creighton, it was like, this team could be a tournament team,
for sure.
Top 10 on the road, hostile environment, like, and then they went to San Diego and got thumped by Oklahoma, which turns out they're good too, I guess. But then I don't know, man. Like, and they look good against bullshit teams, Alabama State or whoever the hell,
They beat Seton Hall.
Probably their best win today, right?
So far. Yep. So far, their best win. If they beat Iowa State, this would be, I think, their best win of the season so far.
It would have to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
it would. It'd have to be. And I think it's going to be, I don't want to say that there's a must-win game in December. But for NCAA tournament, being on the bubble / not being on the bubble in March, this is kind of a big one for Iowa, because a win here could be the difference when the committee is looking at bubble teams and Iowa's on that bubble. This is the kind of win that could put them in versus out. So I think Iowa's won 1 out of their last 7 at Hilton. So that doesn't give me a high degree of confidence.
No.
However, I think we executed a perfect game plan against Iowa State last year in Carver and essentially blew that team out. And that was a much better team than this Iowa State team that we're going to see on Thursday night.
Honestly, I feel like our team was better last year too, with Chris
Well,
Murray, but whatever.
and Connor.
and
Rabracha.
Yeah.
Rabracha, yeah.
I think last year's team is definitely better.
Yeah. I think we're going to need to see a bounce back game from Peyton Sandfort if Iowa's going to have any hope. He can't have like 9 points like he did on Monday night and Iowa win. Peyton Sanfort's going to have darn near 20 points for Iowa to win this game.
Yep.
I don't know if that's going to happen. Iowa State by 7.5. I'll take the Cyclones in a close one, just because it's at Hilton. It's kind of a house of horrors for Iowa, or has been recently. I don't know about Iowa on the road. We had that good game at Creighton, but otherwise it's been bad on the road. I'll take Iowa State in a close one.
So you're saying the spread is Iowa State minus 7.5?
That is currently what it is Iowa State minus 7.5.
I think Iowa State can cover that, actually.
They could.
From what I've seen, Hilton Coliseum, I mean, I'm gonna give Hilton its credit. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give Hilton its credit. 10 to 12 point Iowa State win. That's where I'm gonna go with it on that one.
Yeah, the one other factor here is that Iowa State is they have like a 7 or even a 6-man rotation right now.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of alluded to it last week, right? Like, this is hell week for Iowa. Purdue Monday, go to Ames tomorrow. Oh, what do they got waiting for them? They got Michigan playing on Sunday, so that's great.
Yeah, I feel a lot better about that game against Michigan on Sunday, if I'm being honest.
Well, yeah, because it's after finals, by the way, because finals are this week going on as well. So
yeah, but I've watched Michigan play, and they're as not good as advertised. So
hey, I will like to say, Andrew, I did watch the Jimmy V Classic last night, and my Illinois prediction may come true. They may be a Big Ten contender.
They worry me a little bit with their lack of a point guard, but they look pretty decent. Yeah. All right, let's get to this clip here. Let's see if I can share this. Give me 1 second here. Okay, give me one moment. I am.
No, you're good. Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay, let me pull this in.
Just to preface it for all of our fans out there, Andrew, Gary Dolphin does Hawk Talk with Kirk Ferentz and Fran McCaffrey, and sometimes Lisa Bluter as well. During the week, they talk about the week that has been and the week coming up. All things from recruiting to game performances. What's their favorite Thanksgiving dish, perhaps? Some random stuff coming up, kind of 90-minute interviews from the rooftop over in the Hilton on the Iowa River Landing. So I did get a question into Gary Dolphin via Facebook to ask Coach McCaffrey how they deal with some adversity, I guess. Let's just put it that way, and we'll go ahead and play it. It's towards the end, and like very, very end, Andrew.
Very, very end.
Yeah.
Like how close? We talking?
How long is the whole video?
1 hour and 34.
And it's still all the Hawk Talk there. So the very last minute and a half before you started there. Let's go there.
Okay.
Cricky had 16. We didn't rebound. And it's just impossible to beat them if you don't rebound better.
And they tagged Peyton. You could see that. You knew that was coming.
No lies detected.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you get him loose? More screening?
Well, you got to screen for him, and you got to run him around. You got to run some stuff for him. But you got to look for him. You got to be a little patient. Remember, whenever we had guards a few years ago, whoever we're playing, they're doubling them, they're fronting them, they're beating them up, coming down the floor. So they're locked in on him. Well, our passers have to be locked in on him. You got to wait. You got to get a better angle. You got to move it. Now we can get it to him. Like if we just give up on him the first time we look in there and he's covered, well, guess what?
All right, coming up soon?
Yes, should be.
Okay.
What? He's going to be covered, but he's also the best player in college basketball. We're going to throw him the ball. So Connor McCaffrey led the nation assist turnovers because he waited and made sure we got Luka the ball because he knew that was going to lead to wins, which it did.
Coach Jeff on Facebook at facebook.com/Voice of the Hawks. Fran, what kind of challenges impact practices and games? How do you give out a timeout?
The guy, he runs up to the guy standing at the 10-second line and goes timeout, and he gives it to him. When everybody's watching, like there's 9 hands on the ball. I mean,
that's my point.
And then you tee up the coach. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, I should have left it
acceptable.
Yeah.
You know what? You screwed the call up. Don't tee me up.
Don't tee me up. That's a good note to end on. Happy holidays.
You too, Dolph. I hope you have a great one.
See an aim. Yeah. What
See you
better
then.
place
See you
to
Thursday.
spend
That's
the
that's
holidays
that's
than
actually
Ames?
it, Andrew. I think we
Thanks,
passed
Coach.
my question.
See
It's
you.
okay.
Thanks,
Oh,
Bob.
sorry.
As always,
Good
we'll
job,
see
man.
you.
It's okay. Let's punt on that. I will just go ahead and give the narrative. My question did get into Gary. I asked, when something like that happens in West Lafayette and you just get throttled, right? What his philosophy is on dealing with that, whether it's one of those, do they go and flush it and move on to the next, or is it an opportunity for them to experience great growth and learning? And Fran's response was definitely the great growth and learning aspect of it. He does not believe in the flush and throw away method. They believe they had a good game plan for Purdue. Obviously they didn't, and they didn't execute very well, is what he said in a cliff note. So I won't speak anything more about it, but I did give my question into Gary Dolphin. That was my 15 seconds of fame, Andrew, that I should have prepared better for. It's my fault.
It's okay. It's all right. Love that you're always getting on Hawk Talk, apparently, because you got on Hawk Talk during football season too.
Yes.
So keep it up. Yeah, big week coming up. Hey, everyone, don't forget about the event on Saturday. The STFU event. I forget what STFU stands for. Festivities, tidings.
It sounds like exactly what it stands for, doesn't it? Like,
yeah. Anyways, I'll be there live and in person. I think Drew will be joining me via the internet. Possibly more details to come. But if you want to watch all of our events going on at Three Beards Media from Saturday noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, so figure that out with whatever time zone you're in if you're listening from a different time zone. Josie, you in Denver, you got to figure out what that is in Mountain Time. So, yeah, I'm kidding. Maybe we'll get Josie on the show one day, and then that joke will be hilarious. So, a guy can dream.
That's when we peak.
That is totally when we peak. So, hope to see some of you at the event. Hopefully, we're going to be giving away great prizes, supporting a great cause, as always, and it's going to be a great time. So, hope to see you all at Revelton Distilling in Osceola if you can make it there on this Saturday from noon to 2. So, Drew, any closing thoughts before we head out for the night?
We missed it last week, but I want to still shout out anyway. Iowa, 19 straight dual wins against Iowa State. So I just wanted to throw that jab in there, albeit a week and a day late, but that's okay.
Let's make it a clean sweep in the CyHawk this year by winning women's basketball and men's basketball, taking football, wrestling, and all 4 of the major sports. So let's make it a clean sweep.
I mean, we would win the CyHawk series, right? Like even if we just win tonight, I think we technically win. But here's the thing is, like, I don't know how they add up all these freaking sports anymore, Andrew. It seems like we always kick their ass in women's basketball and football, but we never win the CyHawk series. Like, are we giving it up in fucking field hockey? Like, what are we doing here?
I don't know. We're giving it up in baseball. Oh, wait.
Well, actually, it can't be field hockey. Weren't we the number one team there for a while? We knocked off North Carolina. So it's not field hockey. Like,
I think our women's field hockey team is amazing.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
We're going to blame this on the men's field hockey team. The men's field hockey team really needs to step it up. I haven't heard anything about them. I don't know.
Them, Iowa State baseball. Like, I don't freaking know.
Yeah, our rowing team is our rowing team letting us down, or our track team, or
I don't know who it is, Andrew, but I swear to God, in all the big 4 sports, like we're running 3 out of 4, but losing the CyHawk series. I don't know what kind of math they do in Ames, but it's bullshit.
Is our chess club just like down bad? I don't really know.
It's the club bowling team.
Maybe we need to route some of that NIL money to the chess club so we can beat Iowa State in the CyHawk series. So, all right. Well, with that, we will leave you. Listen to us anywhere you get your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. We're live always on Wednesday nights, sometimes Thursday nights. So thank you as always, and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.